So what I want to talk about today is Asperger's and dating. Now, dating is a very strange situation for a person with Asperger's because on the one hand, there's this drive to somehow um, make an association with someone in some sort of romantic way, and yet at the same time, you really want to be away from them because it's sort of a threatening type of situation and it's a little bit too close. Now, when I was little, all my notions about, well, I'm going to say male-female interactions because I don't want to like exclude, the gay Aspies who are out there. I actually don't really know any, but I'm going to be referring to male-female, female-male, but please don't take that to mean that I'm saying that everybody should always be in a male-female, female-male relationship. It's just that happens to be how it is for me. Okay, so I had the notion of a very idealistic kind of relationship, and I got this notion from, fairy tales and storybooks. And what I really envisioned was a prince, and this prince was going to sweep me off my feet, or I was going to rescue him from battle or something. And then it would all sort of culminate in, I don't know, it usually culminated in either he gave me a kiss or he gave me a ring. Okay? Now, that was pretty much the end. I'm not sure what I was trying to accomplish in these fantasies, but I guess that was just where my mind went. But what I want to say, what I want to explain though, is that I didn't have any notion of the things we associate, like with sexuality. I really didn't have any knowledge of sex going along with this. It was like a completely romantic type of situation. So this is basically what I was carrying with me into grade school and then into junior high school. And then when other people started dating, well, that really would not have occurred to me. Whatever they were doing, it just wasn't something that was coming my way, and it didn't resemble anything that I really had any internal experience with. And, girls were getting in little groups and giggling about how some guy felt her up, and I'm like, what? Why would anybody want to do that? I really had no clue, and I'd tell my mother these things and she'd be sort of horrified, and she was thinking, oh no, my daughter might get into this stuff, and actually it was absolutely so far away from me, so removed from my experience that it never would have happened. And in fact, I had to get to a point in my early 20s where I decided, I've never had a date. I've got to figure out what this is. What is dating? So I basically started to force date. And by force date, what I mean is I put ads in the papers. And, this was the 80s, so I put ads in these little weekly papers, and then I joined a dating service, and I went on many, many, many dates. And most of them were really pretty unpleasant. Eventually, though, I did meet someone who became a kind of a boyfriend. And that lasted off and on for a couple of years. And at one point, he did say something about maybe getting married. But that didn't appeal to me. I really, I'd never thought about marriage as like something that one wanted to do. I didn't want it. It sounded like a trap. My parents' marriage was pretty bad. I didn't want kids. I didn't want anything to do with like domestic situations because I don't like to cook. I don't like to clean. So what was I going to do, And my mother said as well, she said, you don't provide what they're looking for, so they're not interested in you. And I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, Actually, to tell you the truth, I kind of rejected that for a while. I was trying to see if I could kind of get into some sort of normal group there, but it really didn't happen. And then, on the other side of it, you get the idea that there's these guys and they're thinking, oh, well, this woman's not into this domestic stuff, but she's got to be into sex. Well, I wasn't really that into sex either. So I don't know, and then the question is how do you put these things together and come up with some rational explanation for dating behavior to continue? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I was stuck with this feeling like, yeah, somehow I want to make this kind of association with somebody and have this some kind of relationship, but it doesn't resemble any of these things that I'm seeing around me. It's not, a one-night stand for some hot sex, well, please, that sounds pretty gross. And I don't know. So, and on the other hand, I didn't want something leading into this domestic situation that I wouldn't be able to escape from. So I embarked on maybe, kind of a series of very, very sporadic dating situations. What do they call it? Sort of a serial monogamy, but with like years and years in between. And, surely I had experiences I never would have had otherwise. There were probably some nice moments. Um, um, but really things did not pan out. And at this point in life, since I'm 55 years old, well, what am I doing? Sometimes I'm still compelled to like try to go out on a date. And, it's really not going to go anywhere. I don't know what the heck I'm really driving at with even trying to keep going with that. Maybe it's some like vestigial little thing playing in my head, something, but it's just something not. um, anyway, so, so sometimes I go out on these things and I try to do something, uh, try to act maybe a little bit normal, uh, talk to somebody, try to make it, a pleasant association just for like one evening, not really have to go beyond that, or just have, talk to somebody and, have absolutely no real commitment or involvement, just a conversation. And, really, that's pretty much good enough, although, I always wished that I'd met that prince, but that did not happen. And this was actually not what I had planned to talk about at all, but maybe I'll make another installment on this because I don't want this to get too long, because I also did want to talk about whether or not to tell a person if you're on a date that you have Asperger's. So, I don't know, maybe some other people out there understand this notion of this idealism that really has no basis in reality, but one tends to keep pursuing it anyway. And I've actually met a person who was like that, and we had a sort of a platonic association for a number of years. And unfortunately, when it was suggested that it turned physical, I was actually not interested at all. And at that point, I decided to break it off because it didn't make any sense to continue to me if I was just not going to be able to return whatever feeling this was to this person, because I had long since realized I did not have that feeling for him. So I don't know. I don't know how people compromise with these situations. There are people who stay in these marriages for years and years, and they're not doing anything except sort of being together because they don't want to be alone. And the thing is, for most people with Asperger's, we like being alone. So there isn't that pull to stay together even though this, and this has gone wrong. We're just going to stay together. No, it doesn't make any sense because we're saying, wow, boy, I sure would be relieved if I was by myself now. And then you go. What else are you going to do? It just, I don't know. The whole mindset is different. So maybe some of you out there understand where I'm coming from, and I'd be interested to hear anybody's comments on this, because it's a sort of continual wonderment to me how the whole thing went down that way. Um, looking back on it. So anyway, thank you for listening. Bye-bye for now.